Hello and welcome to my live stream on your spiritual journey, my Facebook group talking about Spiritism, how we can study Spiritism and explore Spiritism some more so you can understand your life, why things happen, why things don't happen, why you are who you are, why you were born to the parents you were, and how much money you make, everything. It's explained by Spiritism and what you've done in previous lives. But this is a live stream. We're talking about B's near death experiences, trip around the universe. This is part two. So hopefully, I will. You've seen part one, and I posted that on YouTube. I will post this on YouTube. Please uh, subscribe to my channel, Spiritism, on YouTube, and also have a channel on BitChute. Go to my blog site, nwspiritism.com. I'll give you a direct link to sign up to either YouTube or BitChute or both. Please subscribe, tell your friends, comment, hit the like button. That's all would be great. It helps us spread about the extent of Spiritism and the spirituality to everyone. So just to recap real quick, this is all this account is in my book, The Spirit World Talks to Us, where I interpret near-death experiences by Spiritism, because Spiritism has exposed to us the extent and process and organization of the spirit world. Not everything, but a lot of things, because the Spiritism tells us they only present to us through mediums who are spiritists. High spirits will talk to those mediums. They present to us what we are able to understand. This is why Spiritism says the messages of love and fraternity and charity and honesty in the New and the Old Testament are eternal. But everything else was given there to the level of technology and culture of the people at the time. That is why other religious writings too, right? Spirit world works through all religions. Islam, Hindu, right? Confucianism was actually one of the Confucius was one of the ministers for Jesus. Socrates also, again, you don't think of those as religions, as saints, but no. If you look at what Socrates said about his own version of the golden rule and how we live many lives, it's all there also. So the spirit world speaks with one voice. That's why there's so many different religions saying the golden rule in different words, but they all say the same thing: treat others as you would want to be treated. Socrates said the same thing, of course. So Spiritism is what the spirit world is trying to present to us, for us to communicate with high spirits, to tell us why we are here, so the earth can then get to that next level, that planet of regeneration. Now, what I talked about in part one, I talked about the level of planets. We talked about B and his near-death experience so far, as he had like a trip around the universe and he saw all these fantastic formations. Now we're going to get down to more a particular area. So this is when he went to the Grand Palace. So after he was taken to all the spectacular formations of our galaxy, he was taken to this magnificent building, and he describes it like this. From there, the angel took me to what I call the Grand Building or Grand Temple. I'm not sure of the name of this place, but it was brilliant white like a palace. The angel took me inside this building, which was amazing to see from the front. It had a large, beautiful garden in the front with beautiful pond lakes. The front veranda of the building was enormous and had many massive white columns out the front of it. Once I was inside the building, I noticed that the building was alive with reactive light energy. All matter was alive, reactive light energy there. I cannot put into words how beautiful it was inside. I looked up at the ceiling in one of the large rooms and noticed that the ceiling was clear like glass. You could see all the stars in the universe above. Talk about magic. I was just in absolute awe of the place. So what he told us is verified independently by different spirits talking to spiritist mediums. Here's one example. In the compilation of 4 books, The Life Beyond the Veil, and Book 1, The Lowlands of Heaven, written by the Reverend G. Val Owen in 1920, or actually psychographed, during a sequence of sittings receiving messages from his mother and other spirits, he was able to document where his mother was living. Val Owen asked his mother to describe where she lived and worked while in the spirit world. This is what she said to Val Owen in the 1910s and 20s. It is beautifully appointed within and without. Within are baths and a music room and an apparatus to aid us in registering our work. It is a very large place. I called it a house, but is really a series of houses. Each house allocated to a certain class of work and progressive as a series. We pass from one to another as we learn all we can from any particular house. So, as revealed by the doctrine of Spiritism brought to us by Allan Kardec in the 1850s, when we leave this life, it is not for an eternity of idleness. We continue to work, otherwise our boredom really would be hell. Owen's mother talked about an apparatus to help in their work. According to Spiritist writings by Francisco Chico Xavier, the first level of heaven in the spirit world is 50 to 100 years more advanced in technology than we are on Earth. Hence, I surmise she is describing a type of computer terminal, since she certainly did not use the word typewriter in her prose. These devices are also mentioned in Chico's book, dictated by the spirit of Andre Louis, in the book No Solar, published in 1944, along with personal communication devices, aka cell phones. Now, next, his mother, G. Owen's mother, writes about the outside. The grounds are very extensive and all have a kind of relation to the buildings, a kind of responsiveness, and as what B said, is reactive energy. For instance, the trees are true trees and grow much as trees do on Earth, but they have a kind of responsiveness to the buildings, and different kinds of trees respond more to one house than to others, and help the effect and work for which that particular house was raised. So it is with the grouping of trees in the groves and the streams and falls which are found in different parts of the grounds. All of these things have been thought out with marvelous wisdom, and the effect produced is very beautiful. So that's what she said. The beauty of the grounds and the ability of foliage to glow is also recorded in much of other Spiritist literature. Everything in the celestial levels of the spirit realm is a mirror of Earth, but more perfect, more complete, and more in tune with the harmony and vibrations of those around it. Next, Owen's mother tells us of the power of the spirits, for we are told numerous times that while we live on Earth, we must learn to control our emotions and attempt to live in a balance between spirituality and materialism. We must strive to maintain our love for all. The reason for this emphasis on our inner thoughts is the power of the will in the spirit world. Read her explanations of how the houses are built. This is what she says. The atmosphere also is naturally affected by vegetation and by buildings. For, let me repeat, those houses have not been raised merely mechanically, but are the outcome, growth, if you will, of the action of the will of those high in rank in these realms, and so of very powerful creative wills. So, what is she telling us? It's not by the processing of raw materials coupled with the labor of workers that a house or a grand temple is constructed, but with the mind of a high spirit who gathers by a force of their resolve, or a group of high spirits usually, using divine laws to accumulate material from the ether of the universe, called universal fluid, which is the basis of everything, to form the edifices. Owen's mother also goes on to recount how the color of their clothes is governed by the combination of the surrounding atmosphere and each individual's spiritual quality. Therefore, as people walk around the gardens, their garments change color. So the main theme is that the spirit world is full of life, from flora to fauna to buildings, all in astonishing harmony, achieving a type of perfection that we can only dream of while encased in our physical bodies on Earth. B reported the same thing, this reactive energy. Everything's alive. It has been said before he experienced, hundreds of years before he experiences NDE, the same thing. Ask yourself, how can this be so congruent? How can the same saying that there's a reactive, that everything's brighter, that everything reflects upon you, it changes as you move through. These same things have been said time and time again by people who have no knowledge of each other. So let's go on for more what happened to be. Now, similar to many near-death experiences, there's a type of family reunion. Relatives who have passed over in the spirit world are present to greet those who have made the transition. This is what B wrote. The angel took me into a large room, and as I entered the room, there were a lot of people waiting for me. I was reunited with past family ancestors and friends that had passed over. The feeling that I got from everyone was so overwhelming with love that projected from them into my soul and vice versa. They could feel all of my emotion at the same time as well. My great-grandparents from my mom's side introduced themselves to me, as well as my grandfather, who died when my mom was only 9 years of age. I noticed that most of the spirits were in the form of light sphere shapes. Although we could not see each other's faces, we knew who each other was. I remember one male person who wanted to talk to me, who was at the back of the room. As soon as I thought and looked at him, we came to each other instantaneously. This person, I'm not ready to say who he is, but he was a family member to me in a past lifetime. I am sure I have come across him again here on Earth. The whole time I was in that room with my family and friends, the feeling of love and joy was so overwhelming that there are no words to describe it. Being on Earth feels so much heavier and clunky in our bodies. I know when we are released and take that love energy with us, the energy is allowed to spread out and expand. Now, just to let you know, that family member that he didn't want to say, we did have conversations. He told me who it was, but I did not ask him if I could say it, so I'm not going to say it, but he does know who that family member is. He found that out later. He had a hint, but then he became certain. So, the Supreme Intelligence has created a universe based on love. When one of us returns, our intimate loved ones are notified of our presence. They are there to meet us because they too have had to live years encased in a dense body covering. They too have had to fight through a myriad of lessons. They too have had to look back at their life at the end of their trials and sum up the good and the bad. You see this again, a central theme in near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences when people go up and talk to the spirits. Our family in the spirit world fully realizes the grief, the pain, and the joy of our physical existence. They know upon re-entry we are somewhat confused and lacking our full capabilities. When B mentions that he could not see his family's faces, it is not because they are undefined balls of light. His coterie of friends saw each other not in their original human form, but in their idealized shape. When we return to the real world, the spirit world, we determine our appearance and age by our thoughts. And in fact, as other spirits have said, if you die young, you come to the middle, or you come to the age where you always seen yourself, maybe your late 20s, your 30s, or your 40s. If you die old, you come back to where you've seen yourself again. Could be 20s, 30s, 40s. Some people like to look older or even younger. So that's how your mind affects how you look. In fact, there was this NDE, and this woman had this NDE, and she was in this room with another woman who had just recently died. And as she was talking to her, she was probably in her mid-40s. As she was talking to her, her skin looked younger. Her hair became even, darker red and more full. And she was changing her shape right in front of her eyes. Of course, that woman who was talking to her didn't recognize, but as Spiritism knows, her mind was working, and she was already looking like her mind influenced. So, again, all of the spirits there could see B as he was, because they were all superior. He was dense. Not I'm saying superior by meaning that they were better than him. Superior because they were less matter and more energy. So, and they could see each other as each person thought of him or herself, but B couldn't detect them. He was still attached to his material life, and he didn't yet have the capacity to detect their true form. Now, Spiritism tells us this is what's so exciting. Heaven has many levels. Now, as one proceeds upwards, your body becomes less matter and more energy. A soul on the first level of heaven would either just see light in a much higher level or nothing at all. They wouldn't have the required spiritual development to fully comprehend the rarefied air of a vastly superior level of heaven. Now, on this live stream, I have a question by a person. It says, can you pick up spirits? So I'm not quite sure what they mean by pick up spirits. You can certainly communicate with spirits, but again, that is something one should prepare oneself. Now, some people have the ability to see spirits even in our physical body. I knew this one medium, actually, I still know this one medium, not new, that he could see spirits. And he was, when he went to his job, because he had to work during the day, and he worked for the government, and he worked at this place where people come and they talk to you like a driver's license or a social security office. And sometimes his friends would see him talking to someone. They'd say, excuse me, but that's not, you're not talking to a real physical person, because sometimes he could not tell the difference. Chico Xavier, one time when people were coming in for his mediums meeting, someone said, hello, Chico. He goes, oh, hello, hello, Juan. He goes, and I see you brought your mother. And he said, no, my mother died. Of course, his mother was next to him, but Chico couldn't tell the difference. So again, people can do this. You can communicate, but I would recommend that anyone who wants, as part of Spiritism, which is, says that we can communicate with spirits. But what they do here in the United States and here in Brazil is people go through classes, medium classes. Now, I know that's not available to everybody in the United States and other parts of the world. So I recommend you read the Medium's book by Allan Kardec. That's called the Medium's book. Look up Allan Kardec, and you will see. Let me bring that up on the screen because I want everybody to see this. That's the Gospel according to Spiritism, but his name is Allan Kardec. Type in Allan Kardec space PDF, and you'll see all his books. So it will be called the Medium's book. Again, this is another one. I would recommend you read the Spirits book first, then the Gospel according to Spiritism, and then the Medium's book is probably a good way of reading that. But you really, because if you just try to talk to spirits, a lot of, we disagree with the Catholic Church saying, no, or the Bible saying you should never talk to spirits, right? I think that was put in because the early Christians did talk to spirits. But you need to know there are many levels of spirits out there. There are very superior, educated spirits, and there are very inferior, playful, and then someone downright mean. You have to learn how to detect them. You have to have your own self. You should have other people with you. This should be something that you do on an organized, disciplined basis. When they have mediums meeting in Brazil that I've been at, they have it at the same time, in the same place, on the same day of the week. That is because then the high spirits can come around and they can protect that area and let in only to that mediums meeting the spirits that they wish to let in, that you can communicate to. So I hope that helps with that. So as I was saying, heaven has many levels, and you can read about that in my book, Heaven and Below, which talks about the different levels of heaven. And it's a first in a series of 3, Heaven and Below, Spirits in the Spirit Universe, and How We Are Guided by Spirits. There will be links to all these books on my YouTube channel, or go to my blog, nwspiritism.com, and you'll see all these books on the right-hand side navigation bar. So as we go up each level, there's not, when you get rid of your physical body, you just don't go to heaven and everyone's the same. There's different levels of heaven. People become, as you go higher and higher, you become less matter and more energy. A soul on the first level of heaven would just see just light, see too much light in a much higher level or nothing at all. They couldn't stand. They would say, no, I can't go there. They wouldn't have this required spiritual development to fully comprehend the rarefied air of a vastly superior level of heaven. And this is the reason we toil away on earth, so we may accumulate the wisdom, the prerequisite lessons, so we may ascend to higher and higher stages of heaven. Each step brings its own wonderments and associated supremacy. Angels are incredibly powerful beings. We are being trained through difficult and harsh trials to become an angel one day. Angels are us. Angels are ones who have gone through life after life and gone through multiple levels of heaven, each learning on each level. And as you go from one level to the next level, you are not just given a piece of paper saying you're graduated. You are physically altered. You are given more attributes. You are given more power. So, when B returns permanently to heaven after a period of recuperation, he will be able to see in the flesh what his family actually looks like. Now, let's talk about remembering your past life. So, when he said B encountered a person he did not immediately recognize, but he knows him, he feels an instant affinity. This is because B's instincts tells him that he's had previous experiences with this person before, and they have been positive. He feels in his heart this person is close to him, and they share the same point of view. All these thoughts and feelings are rushing around B's mind because of what God has allowed to take with us when we incarnate on a planet. We have two things. We have our conscience, which is a set of divine laws, so we know right from wrong, and we have our instincts, that feeling when something or someone radiates warning or welcoming signs. When you meet a person and feel an instant affinity, that usually means you have known that person from a past life or life in the spirit world. And of course, in the spirit world, by the law of affinity, like attracts like. So you've probably worked with this person, you love this person, is a great colleague, or whatever, or it could be your future, your spouse, wife, or husband, and it hit that instant connection. So when B returns to the spirit world and he is spiritually ready, he will gradually find the memories of friends in the spirit world and of past lives coming back to him. Remembering your past life when you transition to the spirit realm may not be possible until your mind is free of guilt. The spirit realm only lets you have the memories that you can handle of your past life. And I'll give you an example. In the book Action and Reaction by Francisco C. Xavier, dictated by Henri Louis, a young spirit asks why he can't recall previous existences. This is what he asks. He says, "Dear instructor, listening to your learned and ardent words left me wondering about the enigmas of memory. Why this forgetfulness after our physical death? If I had other existences before this last one, whose mistakes I am now trying to correct, why can't I remember them? Before I left for the physical realm on the pilgrimage where I was given my present name, I must have left good friends behind in the spirit world, just as those who traveling from one continent to another often leave behind loved ones who don't forget them. Why this amnesia that keeps me from remembering the friends I surely must have had?" Well, the instructor remarked, spirits who rightly attend to their duties in their physical life do, in fact, peacefully recover their memory after leaving the dense body. They re-enter communion with the noble and worthy ties that wait for them in the higher life, so that they can continue their respective work of spiritual growth and sublimation. On the other hand, for those of us with troubled consciousness, the death of the corporeal vehicle does not mean liberation. We may lose the physiological instrument, but we remain chained to the invisible prison of our own guilt. And guilt, my friend, is always a black cloud of darkness eclipsing our sight. Regarding our moral failures, our mnemonic faculties are sort of like photographic plates, which, if not well protected, will be ruined. So what is he telling us? He's telling us that our wrongs persist in so many ways. Not only must we come back and pay our debts in this physical world, but even our capabilities are diminished in the spirit world. The penalty for rationalizing away what your conscience tells you is not pleasant. If there is only one main idea a person derives from Spiritism, it should be that no short term benefit is worth violating what you know is wrong, no matter how enticing the lure of luxury or the size of the treasure. They are not all at all comparable to the eventual price that must be paid. Now, while we were talking about past lives, I can tell you that I have found out some things about my past life. Now, I never went through a formal past life review, and that is because Spiritism says that is you don't really want to know. And it's interesting because the things I have learned about my past life, none of them are good. And in fact, I think that I've been told these things and by different methods so I can show myself as an example as someone who was really pretty rotten person. And I'm not so rotten now. I'm not going to say I'm good, but I'm not what I was. Let me tell you what I was. Well, first, when I had my first mediums meeting, and I'm not a medium, I was sitting along the wall in the back, not at the table. A message was sent to myself and my wife, and we were told that we had failed time and time again. We had been put in positions of power, and instead of helping people, we took their money. Pretty bad. Yeah, about half a year ago or so, I was then talking to another medium, and he asked me if I ever had problems with my feet. And I said, well, not that I can think of. Of course, I wasn't thinking at the time that I was born with a club foot. But of course, that was fixed when I was a baby, and I had no memory of it. I was only told of it, right? Because they put those braces on the baby's legs. And he told me that in a far back life, I'm hoping very far back, that I had chopped the feet off of people so they could not escape. And of course, I've read about things like that, where they would have slaves, like when the Persian Empire defeated a Roman army and they captured them, they cut their feet off so they could not escape. In fact, that was recorded in a chronicle by a Roman writer. When the Roman Empire then got those people freed, they hobbled back to Rome. It's a very sad sight. I was told that. I've also found out that another person has known me for 200 years, and that we had known me, and I was on the side. I was a German soldier. I don't know exactly what during the First World War. So it's all violence and stealing and, and not good things. So let me tell you, be careful in your life review. You might find out things. So anyway, that's just my little story. Just to give you a little hint on the fact is that I truly believe that we are given these life predetermined lessons for us to become better people. Sometimes, many times it's painful, it's suffering. That's why we're given dramas and trials. But if I've been given dramas and trials, I think I'm a lot better than someone who would cut people's feet off so they couldn't escape. I could never do that now. So they have helped me progress. So let's talk about B's life review. So after B's meeting with his family, he was escorted to a room where there were two high spirits. In B's view, they had white hair and white beards. B was there for a reason. The spirit world desired that he understood how close the spirit world watches us on earth. This is what he said. One of the wise spirits asked me a question about an incident that happened to me when I was about 5 or 6 years old. First grade at primary school. I felt uneasy about the answer because it was about a fight I had with a classmate. The classmate punched me and went running away across the playground. The boy must have been, say, 30 meters away and running. When I threw the rock the size of a walnut at an elliptically high angle that hit the kid square on the top of his head when it came down. When I didn't answer, one of the wise males said, "The lesson to be learned right here is God the Father knows all your thoughts and intentions at all times. You are part of him and he is part of you." Just after that, I love that line. Just after that, I was told that I will be shown my life review. When it started, it was like a holographic image that came up in front of me from out of the surroundings, and then I became completely immersed in the experience, connecting my soul as one with it. I was shown times when I'd hurt people's feelings, but was completely unaware of it. I was literally in the other person's shoes, body, and felt what they went through. I also experienced it from side on profile as well to get the full experience. The experience was to teach me about empathy without judgment, to always put myself in other people's shoes, to look through their eyes and emotions. So, what is empathy without judgment in practice? It is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. It's that simple. You treat all with respect and kindness, even though you may think they don't deserve it. We can't know their inner demons or trials they're having to travel through. The major revelation is that the spirit world knows all, and I have done many talks and articles. It's in my book, Spirits in the Spirit Universe. Uh, Everything is recorded. We have no privacy. And it's not just what we say or do. It's not enough to keep your mouth shut. Your thoughts as well as everything is recorded. Your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions. And as our parents told us, and we tell our children, God is always watching. And the reality is, God is always watching and recording. We grow out of that fear, usually. We rationalize that our own insignificance makes us too small of a person to follow. And how can we be that important to the divine in this vast universe? The answer is that we are, and each one of us is vital, and each one of us is loved. Now, as fantastic as B's journey was, he was gifted with even more. B writes that Jesus came to him. He could feel the power of Jesus. Then B describes what Jesus wore, a white robe with a sash and a golden ribbon from the shoulder to his waist. B saw his bare feet, the color of golden brown. This description corresponds to the image reported by G. Val Owen in his communication from higher spirits. They paint a picture of a powerful spirit who has compassion and love in every fiber of his body. They also tell of his simple dress with a sash and bare feet. Jesus presented B with another vision, a look at the future. This is what he was told. Jesus started to tell me of things to come and what to look out for in my lifetime. I received a totally immersed vision from him, similar to the life review experience. Jesus went into detail about the new currency bartering system that the governments would impose on everyone on Earth. Stage 1, microchipping for personal security identification, will be used for healthcare and eventually for currency bartering. Stage 2, nanotechnology injection into the blood system. Stage 3, DNA reading. Now, he said, note, Jesus showed me these technologies will cause signs of cancerous lesions on people's skin. They look like small hematoma bleeds all over the body. The Lord will intervene soon after that, but no man will know when. I was shown what my future work careers would be. Now, he's talking about microchipping, DNA reading, nanotechnology. This experience happened to be in 1993. The idea of planting a device in every person doesn't sound that far-fetched today. Nanotechnology and interpreting DNA are both growing by leaps and bounds. Whereas if you had heard this in the early 90s, most of us would have been incredulous. B wrote that everything that he was told about his own career came true. I believe him, because I was told details about my future trajectory that I dismissed out of hand as being too improbable. They all came true. That's how I became to be a spiritist, because when they came true, I knew that if someone could foretell your future, and I'm saying this is not like, oh, you'll have a car or something that's completely general. No, these were specific things that it would be almost impossible. It'd be improbable, maybe not impossible, but vastly improbable that they could come true. And my thought was, how else could this happen? It wasn't for the spirit world planning out our trials on earth. And from that, I found Spiritism. I read everything. And I finally found Spiritism. So the earth is a learning experience, and we are the students who have been sent here. Our life isn't a series of happenstances where life paths are determined by the roll of a dice. No, our life is planned, and the major episodes of our life is predetermined. Now, don't be discouraged by what you are experiencing. Think of your troubles as a difficult class that you must summon up the effort to pass. B was given a marvelous gift, the opportunity for him to truly understand why he is on earth and what is waiting for him when he returns to the real life, the spirit life. For most of us, we never are given that message so directly. We must examine the world around us and search for it ourselves, for that is part of the test in our lives. We must discover for ourselves that we are more than temporary souls who compose back to the earth after our allotted time. We are immortal spirits who live on and on. We spend eternity gaining knowledge and helping others. We are blessed to be here on earth so that we one day may ascend to where we belong. Now, I'm giving you a lot. So again, what I have talked about is in this book. The Spirit World Talks to Us, 12 Accounts from Near Death and Other Experiences. It's on Amazon, Amazon Kindle and in paperback. Also, if you want to learn more about heaven and what heaven is like, I suggest you read my series of books. The first one is Heaven and Below, Book 1 of Spiritism. And I take Spiritist writings. A lot of it is based on the Reverend Gival one, but I take other ones by Divaldo Franco, Chico Xavier, Yvonne Pierre, Leon Denis, and I put these together and say, this is how similar, and Allan Kardec, of course, how similar. They're all giving us the same message, starting from 1850 to 2000, and I think the last one was 2008 or something like that that I have referenced in this book. So that is book 1. That tells you all heaven, all the space below heaven, tells you about the lower zone and the dark abyss, which is a type of purgatory. And then my second book is Spirits and the Spirits Universe, where we talk about what is out there, right? So what is the spirit? What are spirits created from? And how you graduate to different levels of the spirits, and then also how we are guided by spirits, which is book 3. So if you would like to learn about the spirit universe, about yourself, why you're here, how you are guided, what is the future of Earth? I talk about that in book 3. How we're going to become a planet of regeneration. It is all there for you to find out. So again, I will encourage everyone, if you really want to understand Spiritism, I would encourage everyone to at first try the Spirits book. And in fact, if you'd like to, if you have Netflix, there is a great movie called Kardec, and it's about his life and how he wrote the Spirits book and how he became, he was not someone who thought about spirits, thought it was a bunch of, it was just not true. It was people's wishful thinking. And then like other people, like B, myself, and probably other people listening to this, things happen that could not be explained. And it's a great movie on Netflix. So I recommend that you watch that. And of course, let me get you to this book, which is the Spirits book. This is what, after I read all sorts of other things, this answered it to me. It tells us the reincarnation, the process of reincarnation, tells us we are loved, tells us we are immortal. It is just a wonderful book, and it changed my life. And then I just went to read everything I could, and I've written my books to bring these things together. Everyone learns differently, and so I have a lot of different books. I have one like The Case of Reincarnation, so it tells you what the process of reincarnation, explore your destiny, how you're led, and all about the spirit universe as we know it. The problem is the solution, which tells you the problems you have now are all based in past lives. Therefore, your problems really are the solutions for you paying back your past wrongs. So, and then How to Live, which is a book, if you're really ready for it, is how you should live. So you will ascend not only in earth, but ascend in heaven when you get there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and my BitChute channels. If you'd please hit the bell and tell other people about us. I welcome any questions. People have just emailed me today on my contact section in my blog, NW Spiritism, with questions. I try to answer every question. If you have a question on YouTube, I try to answer that too. Anyway, I want to say good night and God bless. Good night.